US President Joe Biden has warned China's leader Xi Jinping that he will remain firm on defending Taiwan as well as free Indo-Pacific trade during a marathon virtual meeting. White House officials say the meeting wasn't aimed at easing tensions, but has been hailed as something of a success. Joining me live now is Oriana Skylar Mastro, the fellow at Stanford and American Enterprise Institute and co-author, of The Costs of Conversation. Oriana, appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us. What's your assessment so far of the Xi-Biden virtual summit or conference, whatever you want to call it, that took place yesterday?
Well, I think the Biden administration was trying to keep our expectations low, saying nothing was really supposed to come out of the summit. The main goal, as I saw it, was to try to reduce tensions such that we don't have some sort of inadvertent conflict. I think tensions have been somewhat reduced, but as the two leaders laid out, we have a lot of conflicting interests. And so I see conflict happening not because of some accident or miscalculation, but because of actually a deep understanding of where our differences lie.
Does it change the red line at all? Because we know that Xi Jinping wants Taiwan, and we know that Biden wants to defend it.
I don't really think that statements coming out of the United States about Taiwan really shape China's thinking about the issue. Most Chinese military planners assume U.S. military intervention. So now they're asking themselves, can they still win in spite of that? So the United States needs to focus on signaling its capabilities, much more so than its willingness to defend Taiwan.
Can Xi Jinping be trusted with whatever he says?
I think Xi Jinping 100% can be trusted with what he says. I recently did a study in which I looked at the things that Xi said he wanted to accomplish and then showed that those are things that China actually tried to accomplish. What's surprising to me is that China is not trying to be more deceptive about its aims, whether it's controlling the South China Sea, taking Taiwan by force, and coercing other players in the region like Australia. Xi Jinping is very direct and China is very transparent. And I think we would make a big mistake if we didn't listen to what he had to say.
Well, you mentioned Australia there. So what should our role be following this meeting yesterday? Do we stay the course and continue to push back from economic coercion?
I think Australia has done a very important thing in terms of shifting some of its policies recently and becoming closer to the United States, especially with the AUKUS deal. My impression is that the leaders of Australia realized you can't avoid provoking China. You're going to upset China at some point. So the question is, how do you defend yourself and protect yourself and become resilient in the face of increasing Chinese coercion? I think Australia has shown that they're willing to stand up to the Chinese and they won't be pushed around. And I think that's the right path.
Yeah, and you still need to counter the security threat. So let me ask you this. Where does the United States and its allies, including Australia, where do we compete and where do we cooperate?
The bottom line is that most of what is happening, especially in the security realm, is one of competition. Now, the Biden administration tries to lay out a few areas of potential cooperation, like in climate change. I think that's great, but I think we have to change the tone. China thinks they're doing us a favor when they're cooperating on these transnational issues. Instead, I think Australia, the United States, and other U.S. partners and allies should go to China and say, you guys are being very difficult. And a lot of countries find you very threatening now, and we will give you the opportunity to improve your image if you want to cooperate with us. So it's not the case that, they're doing us a favor and then they have chips to cash in later. That's one of the main risks with cooperating with China.
Okay, difficult is a pretty good way of putting it, actually. Oriana Skylar Mastro, good to get your thoughts and your expertise this morning. Thank you for joining us here on First Edition, live from San Francisco. Appreciate that. We'll talk to you soon.